A dictator, a family torn apart, and a decision that shocked the world. When Saddam Hussein ordered the execution of his own daughter's husband, the fallout was more than political. This wasn't only personal, this was a family feud with a body count. But was there more to the story? What happened next? And how did his daughter handle the unthinkable? Welcome back to a story of power, betrayal, and consequences. Saddam Hussein was one of the most feared and controversial figures in modern history. As the president of Iraq from 1979 to 2003, he ruled with absolute power. Some saw him as a strong leader who modernized Iraq, while others viewed him as a ruthless dictator who crushed anyone who stood in his way. His rule built on fear, control, and an iron grip over the country. Born in 1937 in a small Iraqi village, Saddam had a tough childhood. He grew up in an unstable home and was raised by a strict uncle who introduced him to Arab nationalism and the ideas of power and control. These early influences shaped his path to politics. By the 1960s, he had joined the Ba'ath Party and played a key role in a coup that eventually brought him to power. Once in control, he wasted no time eliminating rivals, making sure that no one, inside or outside his government, could challenge him. Under his rule, Iraq experienced rapid modernization with improved infrastructure, education, and healthcare. But those advancements came at a heavy cost. Dissent was not tolerated. Political opponents, real or imagined, were silenced, sometimes permanently. He led Iraq through wars, including a brutal conflict with Iran in the 1980s and the Gulf War in the early 1990s. His decisions shaped the country's fate for decades. But while the world watched his military actions, another war was happening much closer to home, within his own family. Saddam valued loyalty above everything else, but in this world, loyalty meant complete obedience, and when someone within his own family was seen as a threat, even blood couldn't protect them. This brings us one of the most shocking moments in his personal life, the execution of his own daughter's husband. It was an act that sent a chilling message to everyone around him. But why did he do it? What made Saddam turn against his own family, ordering an execution that shocked even his closest allies? Saddam Hussein's eldest daughter, Raghat Hussein, was born on September 2, 1968, as the first child of Iraq's most powerful man. She grew up in a life of privilege, surrounded by wealth and power. But being Saddam Hussein's daughter also meant living under strict rules and conditions. She was raised in a tightly controlled environment where loyalty to her father was everything. Her younger sister, Rana Hussein, also played a significant role in this story. Raghat's two brothers, Uday and Qusay, who were infamous for their brutal roles in Saddam's regime. Together, they represented the next generation of Saddam's legacy until it all fell apart. Raghat's childhood was spent in the elite circles of Baghdad, far from the struggles of ordinary Iraqis. She received a privileged education and lived in luxurious spaces, but her father's rule meant that even within the family, fear and discipline were constant. Saddam was known to have a deep influence over his children's lives, ensuring they followed his orders without question. At a young age, Raghat was married to Hussein Kamel al-Majid, a man who held a high position in her father's government. Kamel was more than just an official, he was one of Saddam's most trusted men. As the head of Iraq's weapons development program, he played a key role in strengthening Saddam's military ambitions. His marriage to Raghat further cemented his status within Saddam's inner circle. Like her sister, Rana was also married into this elite group. Her husband, Saddam Kamel, was the brother of Raghat's husband. This meant both sisters were deeply tied to the political and military structure of their father's rule. When everything seemed stable, what pushed Saddam to make a ruthless decision, one so brutal that it cost his own son-in-law's life? For a while, their marriage seemed to be a symbol of unity within the ruling family. Raghat embraced her role as the daughter of a dictator and the wife of a powerful man. She was known for her elegance, often appearing in public with confidence, representing the image of a strong and royal Iraqi woman. But behind the scenes, tensions were growing. In August 1995, Raghat's life took a dramatic turn when her husband made a shocking decision. He defected from Iraq. Hussein Kamel, along with his brother Saddam Kamel, and their families fled to Jordan seeking asylum. This was a direct betrayal of Saddam Hussein, a man who valued loyalty. In exile, Kamel revealed secrets about Iraq's weapons program to Western intelligence agencies, further enraging Saddam. Raghat and her sister Rana, who were married to the two defectors, were now trapped in a dangerous game. They had grown up knowing the consequences of betrayal in Saddam's world, but they had also followed their husbands, standing by them as they made this life-altering decision. The question was, when Saddam saw betrayal within his own family, how did he react? Would he strike immediately, or did he have a more calculated plan in his mind? Surprisingly, instead of an immediate act of revenge, Saddam played the long game. He used his political connections to pressure Jordan, and through negotiations, he sent messages to his daughters and their husbands. He promised that if they returned to Iraq, all would be forgiven. He claimed that their defection had been a mistake, influenced by foreign forces, and assured them that they would be welcomed back. After months of exile, Hussein Kamel and Saddam Kamel made a fatal miscalculation. They believed Saddam's words. In February 1996, they decided to return to Iraq, bringing their families with them. They thought that their high status and family connections would protect them, but they were wrong. What was this shocking move Saddam made that even his own daughters never saw it coming, leaving them devastated and alone? Upon their arrival, it quickly became clear that forgiveness was not on Saddam's agenda. Within days, the two brothers were stripped of their ranks and titles. The final blow came when Saddam's regime declared them traitors. Their fate was sealed. Just days after their return, Hussein Kamel and his brother were ordered to stay in a house in Baghdad. Shortly after, Saddam gave the signal. His revenge was coming. A group of Saddam loyalists, including members of their own extended family, surrounded the house and launched an attack. After hours of gunfire, both brothers were killed in what was officially described as an honor killing by their own relatives. For Raghat and Rana, their nightmare was far from over. Their husbands gone, and now they had to face life in Iraq under their father's rule. When Hussein Kamel and Saddam Kamel were executed, their wives, Raghat and Rana Hussein, were left in an impossible situation. They had grown up as the daughters of Iraq's most powerful man, but now they were also widows of men labeled as traitors. Their reactions to the betrayal, execution, and aftermath were deeply complex, shaped by both personal grief and political survival. After their husbands' deaths and Saddam's ruthless decision, how did Raghat and Rana react? Did they stay silent, or did something unexpected happen? Emotionally, the loss was devastating. Both women had followed their husbands into exile, leaving behind everything they knew. They had trusted their father's promise of forgiveness, only to see their husbands murdered upon their return. The father had orchestrated the killing of the men they loved, but in Saddam's world, grief could not be openly expressed, especially when it involved people he considered traitors. For Rana, the quieter and more private of the two sisters, the trauma seemed to push her into silence. Unlike Raghat, she largely stayed out of the political spotlight and avoided making public statements. She continued to live under Saddam's rule, likely understanding that speaking out against him would only put her and her children in danger. After enduring the trauma of her husband's death, how did Raghat navigate her relationships with her father and remain loyal to him? How much did her life change after that devastating fate? Raghat, on the other hand, reacted differently. She was known for her strong personality and had always been more outspoken. Though she did not openly rebel against her father at the time, the events left a lasting impact on her. Over time, she became more vocal, especially after Saddam's fall in 2003. After the US-led invasion of Iraq and the collapse of Saddam's regime, Raghat fled the country and settled in Jordan. It was from exile that she began to express her political stance more clearly. Despite everything that happened, she remained loyal to her father's legacy. She publicly defended Saddam, portraying him as a strong leader who was wrongfully removed from power. She even took on a political role, advocating for Ba'athist loyalists and reportedly supporting resistance efforts against the new Iraqi government. Her loyalty to her father, despite what happened to her husband, was a reflection of the complex world she was raised in. In Saddam's Iraq, family loyalty and political survival were deeply intertwined. While she may have resented what had happened to Hussein Kamel, she also understood that openly turning against her father could have sealed her own fate. Raghad's influence extended beyond just statements. She was accused of supporting insurgent groups in Iraq after Saddam's execution in 2006, though she denied the claims. She remained a controversial figure, seen by some as a defender of her father's rule, and by others as a remnant of a brutal regime. In contrast, Rana stayed out of the public eye. She did not take a political role like her sister and chose a quieter life. Her silence spoke volumes. It was a reflection of the fear and trauma that shaped her life. Ultimately, Raghad and Rana's reactions to their husbands' deaths highlight two different paths, one of political defiance and one of quiet survival. How did the deaths of Hussein Kamel and Saddam Kamel impact Saddam's regime and political standing? Did it strengthen his control, or did this brutal act trigger the downfall of everything he built? The execution of Hussein Kamel and Saddam Kamel was a turning point for Saddam Hussein's family, but it was only the beginning of further turmoil. The once powerful inner circle of Saddam's regime started to fracture as political tension in Iraq escalated. Although Saddam continued to rule with an iron grip, the betrayal of his sons-in-law revealed weakness within his own family. Raghad and Rana Hussein's life after their husband's death was never the same. They remained in Iraq for several more years, but their father's rule became increasingly unstable. When the US-led invasion of Iraq began in 2003, Saddam's government collapsed and the entire family was forced into hiding. Saddam's sons, Uday and Qusay, were killed by US forces, and Saddam himself was captured later that year. The fall of Saddam Hussein marked the end of an era, not just for Iraq, but for his family as well. Once at the center of power, they were now scattered, living in exile or in hiding. Their legacy remains controversial, tied to one of the most infamous leaders in modern history. What do you think about Saddam's actions? Do you believe he did the right thing, or was it a step too far? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you think this was ruthless, wait until you hear about the shocking things Saddam Hussein's son did to innocent women. Until we meet again, never stop seeking the truth.